Inside the Birds is back, everybody. What's going on? Geoff, Mosher, Adam, Caplan. We got a really good Inside the Birds coming up here as the Eagles are on the precipice, are playing their first preseason game of 2022. Adam, it's weird. It's going to be against the Jets. We're so used to the Jets being the last preseason game, but yet chalk this up as just another thing about, the offseason and the preseason that's just completely mind-blowing and weird and different. So now they play the Jets the first game instead of the last.
So weird. And it's not at the Jets. It's actually Friday or tomorrow. You'll be going.
So I'll be there.
Looking forward to seeing what you have to say when we do our show for Monday. But yeah, look, this is the only home game. Yeah, that's the other strange thing. They only have one preseason home game. I wonder, because the forecast for this weekend actually looks pretty good, not super hot like it has been this week.
Brutal. It's been brutal.
Right. And it's a short weekend. I mean, it's Friday, so I don't know how many people show up. And I know a lot of my friends are season ticket holders. They hate going anyway, unless it's a Thursday game. But it's not. It's a Friday game, so I would expect this. Though it's the only home game in the preseason, I can imagine there will be more than half of the people show up. But who knows? We'll see. There's such great expectations for this team. It's not just us. Fans who really follow the team are super psyched for this team. So we'll see. We'll see who shows up.
Yeah, 30,000 strong at the Linc Linc practice, I should say, the other night. That was always a good sign. You knew that people wanted to come. And listen, it was, as you mentioned, brutally hot that night. So for people to get out there and check it out was good. I'm sure there'll be a good attendance, I would think, at the first preseason game. You're right, the weather is supposed to be better. And then after that, we really embark on sort of an oddity in the schedule, in that the Eagles are going to go on the road next week, and they're going to be joint practicing against the Browns. So they're not going to be here on Wednesday and Thursday. Those 2 days will be practice days. Friday will be off.
Yeah, they won't be Tuesday either, because they have to travel.
They have to travel, right?
Yeah, so it's weird. Like, yeah, it's such a weird. It's a weird deal, because they're practicing back to back against a team that's hosting them. The Dolphins. You and I will be there the following week. In fact, I'm in Tampa. Today's Thursday. This is the last day of the joint practices with the Bucs. Mm-hmm. So I'm getting to see Miami. Boy, as I said a couple months ago, people thought I was crazy to say this, like, because people don't believe in the Dolphins. Mm-hmm. They don't believe in Tua, really, and I get that.
But I think they also don't believe in that organization with the owner and all the dysfunction that they've always had. I think Tua is a little part of that too. But yeah,
true, sure. Stephen Ross is heavily entitled, does whatever the hell he wants, then acts like he didn't do anything wrong. Come on, man. Crazy statement that the Dolphins put out. But look, they're loaded on both sides of the football. I mean, watching Tyreek Hill go against Carlton Davis is probably a top 12, top 14 corner. Turn him inside out was something. I've not seen Tyreek Hill practice before, because I never went to Chiefs training camp.
Right.
Seeing him up close it's something else, man. They're a lot of talent. They're super deep at receiver. Mm-hmm. You got your guy Gesicki from Penn State, and a lot of talent defense. And look, that AFC East, Dolphins got to be. Look, remember how well they closed last season after the terrible start on Brian Flores last year? So they'll be challenging for that division. And the Cleveland is the craziness of the Deshaun Watson situation.
Yeah.
In Berea, Ohio, that I've probably been there, I don't know, 10 times. It's certainly not one of my favorite places to go, but it's
right
easy
up
to
there
get
with
to.
you. I'm right there with you. Yeah.
Easy drive on was it I-80 or something like that, in 70 Turnpike. So
right.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Dolphins. By the way, when you and I are there 2 weeks, they opened their complex last summer. Mm-hmm. And talking to their PR staff, it's unbelievable, and the local media is spoken very highly of it. So I'm looking forward to going to the Dolphins in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm excited that we can both be there on location in South Florida. We'll be able to do some shows from there, maybe some specialty shows as well. Are you going to be? I forget. You're such a busy person. Are you going to be in Cleveland for Eagles Browns or no?
The game, no, I'm just going to the practices.
No, I meant to practice it. You'll be there. Yeah. So you did say that. I just wasn't sure. Yeah. So good.
Yeah, I'm driving about 6 hours from where I live. So it's in fact my first time I ever drove there, didn't fly. It was for the Hall of Fame. I'm 15 to see Jerome Bettis and Bill Polian, who I work with at ESPN, get inducted. Pretty. It's the only time I've been there. Pretty surreal. Steve Young was sitting at our table. It's pretty cool. He's
right.
But yeah, the Browns see now their challenge. They're not real deep at receiver. They're a run-based offense. The Eagles' run defense will be tested in the combined practices. And here's one nugget before we get into the breadth of the show here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the thing that teams are doing now, like talking to the Bucks, it sounds like they're gonna take the Rams card and not play their starters at all in the preseason, or very little.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like the intel I got is that they're probably not going to play them because they've got back-to-back weeks of joint practices this week against the Dolphins and the following week against the Titans. So that's, it's interesting. The Eagles have back-to-back weeks, but they're going to play the starters.
They are. Well, I think. I mean, I know he said that. We'll get into that in a second, because if you look at it, you might be misled into if you think all the starters are going to be played.
Just for sure.
What we're seeing right now, and we'll talk about that in a second. Check out InsideTheBirds.com for all of our latest content. We've all been doing our observations pieces from practice. Adam has, I have, even Andrew DeCecco got into practice, had a great observation piece the other day. And of course, we'll continue to do that along with stories that come out of training camp, and continue to subscribe to the newsletter. Please leave us a 5-star review on Apple platform if you're an Apple listener, and you ask a question, we'll definitely give you an answer. We appreciate all the feedback so far, and we're getting close. I know the season's getting close. Some people have asked us. We're getting close to making our kind of fall lineup announcements. We have some new things, new irons on the fire, as we'd like to say, and we'll bring that to you as soon as we're ready to make that statement. With that being said, let us get into some of the injury updates, Adam. Obviously, did we address the Jason Kelce one in Tuesday's pod? No, we did not, because he
Monday's
had it
pod,
since.
yeah.
It's Monday's pod, right. So since then, Jason has had elbow surgery. He had it, I believe, on Tuesday that he had, Adam?
Correct.
And what is your view on when he can come back and how this all came about?
All right, and our information, we're told that he will play week 1 at the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
The injury, remember now, he wore the sleeve on that elbow last year, and my understanding is the same elbow.
Right.
The time frame for recovery should be in about 3 weeks. He would have to have a setback with the rehab for him not to play week 1, as I understand it. Now, It doesn't mean he's not going to be in pain. This is surgery. It's on his elbow, and it's a cleanup. As we understand it, I think Monday he was working out, and he just kind of locked up on him, and he consulted with the medical staff and just decided that he should have the surgery. Now, don't wait, because think about it. Let's just say somehow, I don't know. I'm assuming there was something loose in the elbow, but let's say he somehow was going to try to play, not in the preseason, obviously, but in week 1 without getting it fixed. It could have been worse. I mean, it could have been, because of course if he didn't have the surgery and he was able to practice, who knows what it would have been like by week 1, 4 weeks from now. So he did the smart thing, get it taken care of now.
Right.
You deal with what you got to deal with, and we're going to see a lot of Cam Jurgens, obviously in practice and some a little bit in the game.
Yeah. Yep. We will get to him in a second. The Kelce injury, I remember it happening. I don't remember which game last year, but I do you remember him coming out and pacing the sideline, and he looked like
the Jets game. Was it the
Jets game? Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe
because he was pacing and he was in pain.
Yep.
I think you and I were together at Rivers Casino when we were doing a pregame show.
Right.
And I just remember they showed him on TV pacing, and somehow they said he hyperextended it, but he came back in. I'm like, this guy's he says, as Nick Sirianni said on I don't know, Wednesday or Tuesday, he's the toughest player he's ever been around. That's no understatement, man. Every football player is tough, but this guy's extra tough.
Yep.
He's an amazing person, and we wish him well in his recovery. But Glad that they did this now. And, as we get into the injury updates in a minute here, they got a lot of guys hurt. But the good thing is, as we understand, they're all going to be ready for week one. Some of these guys won't be on the team, but the guys that will be on the team are going to be ready to go week one. It's just they got to get through the rehab here.
Gotcha. So the big key there is that Jason Kelce is expected to play week one. I believe he has 123 consecutive games played, which I think is third active, although Ndamukong Suh was the first, not games played, started. And Ndamukong Suh was number one at one point with 167, I believe. But is he now, he's done, right? Didn't he retire?
I don't think so.
Oh, is he still, did he sign with anybody?
No, in fact, not only is he not retired, he actually said, remember he was looking at the Raiders and didn't offer. In fact, Akeem Hicks replaced him with the Bucks, and boy, they are really happy to have him. He's healthy.
Oh, I would think so. He's a good player when he's healthy.
When healthy, yeah, he's
yeah.
So
okay.
So Kelce, we're not going to see him till week one. Let's hope it goes well for him in the rehab. And that's the big one. Obviously, we didn't, nobody knew that he was dealing with, so it's taken care of.
There you go. I couldn't remember who was second on the list. It was an interesting name. I'd have to go back and look. It's I should just go to insidethebirds.com because I wrote it.
Man, you wrote it.
But now it's already slipped my mind. It was an interesting name. I did not realize that this guy had started so many games. I'll tell you in a second. It was
it no lineman?
Jake Matthews. Yeah. Left
Jake Matthews. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. So he was at 127, Kelce 123, and Ndamukong Suh 164 for a guy who, for a guy who's bounced around to a lot of teams and has never. It's not like he's a 11-time Pro Bowler. That's an impressive number of consecutive starts.
Yeah, a good one. I would not have believed that one. Wow, that's a lot. That's one of those you can't really explain.
Right.
But he's because when you're a journeyman like that, or guys moved around a little bit, usually you don't think that guy's going to start every game. There's a reason why this guy moves around, but it's a solid football player. But that's the big one.
Right. So as you mentioned, Cam Jurgens will continue, who already filled in a little bit at the start of training camp for Jason Kelce, will continue to run at center. We reported last podcast. He's been doing a good job. We had said that he took a couple of reps at guard and it didn't go as smoothly as center, which is his natural position. So it's kind of beneficial for him to have to, because he is going to be the heir apparent to Jason Kelce. Even though they like to cross-train guys, it's good for him to get in at center right now and get that experience going. Jack Anderson has center experience, or at least didn't, I think, college, so he'll get some looks at center. And good old Cameron Tom, who is, will probably see a lot of time Friday night against the Jets. Other guys that are out now, the Eagles signed a running back, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Andre Torrey. And I bring that up now because he's an undrafted free agent out of North Texas. Not a very big guy. So the Eagles get yet another, sort of smallish, quickish running back. But they've got several running backs who are out and probably aren't going to play against the Jets. So they needed bodies.
Yeah. So let's start. We'll get to Torrey in a couple minutes, but let's go to the injury. So Gainwell won't play with the hip. That's a new one. He's missed a couple. This is new for this week. Boston Scott obviously has not been cleared. He got hit last week by Epps. He's out with a concussion. Devontae Smith with a groin. He's not playing. John Hightower's got a groin injury. This is new for this week. I would think I doubt that he plays, but maybe if he participates in today's walkthrough, somehow he plays. But Greg Ward won't play. Obviously, he hasn't practiced since he hurt his toe. This is not good for him.
Nope.
These are the kind of guys. He's on the outside, as far as I'm concerned. He's on the outside looking in, making the team.
Yep.
So he's going to have to get another. Not that Keurig Weedfall would have made the team; he had no chance.
Right.
But he's the kind of kid who's got to get preseason games in, and this is new for. He missed time earlier. Now he's got a hamstring injury, so we'll see if he's going to be available. Raven Clark definitely won't be available with a hamstring injury. Kelce with an elbow. These are all offense, right? And then Grant Calcaterra. The only question is, can he come back and practice before the 53 is set, so he can get a look at him in practice? That's too bad, man. He is super athletic. He is exactly what they thought he would be from athletic standpoint. He's not going to block anybody, but he he plays the F position, which is the offset tight end, and also is a flex tight end. And it's too bad because boy, did he get off to a good start. And the tight end position, they're down 3 now with actually 2, Tyree Jackson, and of course is still on PUP.
Well, you're right with 3 because didn't Jared Maiden get hurt as well?
You're not Jared Maiden. You mean
Jared Graham. I don't know why I keep saying.
I don't know what his.
Jaden Graham is the guy that I'm supposed to be saying. I don't know why I'm saying Jared Maiden, but go ahead.
But Graham, he's done. He got. See, you can't if you're put on IR. In the preseason, you're done. You can't come back unless they release him. That was the old rule. I doubt that they've changed it.
Right.
That's so many. They're so confusing. I was talking to someone with one of the PR staffs on my trips here, and the guy's like, "You can't." He said like 6 changes to PUP, IR. He was going over. There's some stuff I was not even aware of. There's some little nuances. There's just it's like I don't know why they keep doing this, but competition committee decides these things. So who knows?
Right.
But so then the other ones. Now we'll go to defense here. Kerry Vincent was a major long shot to make the team with a groin injury. Jimmy Moreland, boy, they were really hoping that he could push because he could play inside or outside. Scott, they know, could be playing for Washington. We were told it was a slight ankle sprain, but he still has not practiced since he got hurt. Then I'm assuming Anthony Harris is going to be available. They listed his tooth, right?
I swear this guy in his year and like a couple of months as an Eagle has been on injury list for the oddest things. If you remember last year, it was hand. Remember, he had both the right hand and the left hand were hurt, and so they would put him on the injury list as hand, and now it's tooth.
I don't get it, man. I don't get it. So well, maybe if he had one extracted, I mean, you would. Obviously, he's got to. You can't practice a day if you're going under or get a tooth removed. Who knows what the hell it is? So
right.
And this one's disappointing. I hope everything's okay with Jaquaski Tart, but he's dealing with a personal issue and he's not practiced. He has been, as we're told, slow to learn the defense because it's different, completely different, we were told, than the defense that he played in with the Niners. So, it's one thing for a corner to learn zone versus man. If it's harder for safety. Your responsibilities are completely different than from a corner. And he just hasn't picked it up. So he really needs his practice time. You need him in preseason. They're not giving enough guaranteed money that he's a guarantee to make the team. I would have said a lot before training camp, but not anymore. This is a problem position. They have one weakness on this team, and it's clearly safety.
Yeah. Ooh. So that, as we talk about the kind of the state of the team, which we did last pod mostly with our progress report, but safety is a real sore spot right now. And that's not just Adam and I hypothesizing or negative Nancying or whatever you want to call it. I mean, we've had people, our sources say this is an area of concern to the team. It's an area where they may look to try to make a move before the deadline. Now, whenever you say make a move, everybody wants to say the kid from Cincinnati, like they always go to the extreme. Oh, they're going to make a move. They're going to trade for Jeremy Bates. No, there's other guys out there who can come in and help them, I'm sure. And after the cut down deadline, there may be more. I don't that's not necessarily the only move the Eagles can make to improve.
And Jesse Bates, a couple things you got to understand. Yes, they drafted Dax Hill, who's a safety who could play corner, talented kid, but he is a rookie. Yvonne Bell, who's a veteran. That's it. I mean, if they traded, now the problem is on the franchise tag, so you cannot extend him.
Right.
That's the Eagles, when they would not. It's highly unlikely they would trade for a player that they can't extend.
Right.
Because you're going to give up elite and again, to be clear, the Bengals don't want to trade him, but if they ever entertained it, you're not getting for less than a 1, 0 chance. It obviously would be more than a 1. So, and the Eagles have 2 first-round picks. Theirs in New Orleans. It's just they're in a tough spot. If you look at the available safeties on the street, when you're on the street this time of the year in the NFL, you've either had a lot of injuries or you're near the end of your career. Right. And if you look at the kind of guys that are out there, Now, Deshaun Gibson's a good football player. He's more of a free safety. He's got maybe 2 years left in him. High character, smart guy.
Mm-hmm.
Sendejo, who's, he's a strong safety that's played free, but he's a strong safety and he doesn't cover very well. He's a hitter, but he's out there. It's just that's it. They're just all back. Jaleel Adai, who's bounced around for several teams.
Mm-hmm.
Tavon Wilson's a special teams player. Jeff Heath, who was a starter for many years with Dallas. He's near the end of his career.
Right.
That's it. The Eagles don't need any backups. They need upgrades, and good luck.
Yeah. No, that's a good way to say it. I don't know if there are any like safeties who have played 3 years in the league who aren't going to get maybe an extent, kind of like the Miles Sanders situation that maybe becomes expendable. That's how the Eagles got Ronald Darby in 2017 from the Bills, because the Bills knew they weren't going to wind up extending him. They're playing defense. You look at some of the guys who were drafted that, I guess, we talked about Jonathan Abram, right? He's not really ideally what you'd want if the Raiders were looking to move on from him.
He's a box safety.
He's a box safety.
Too many injuries.
Although you could argue right now, Adam, if you're you can't be picky at a certain point, and obviously your coverage safety is Marcus Epps. If you want somebody who can play in the box and move around a little, it would be him. But he can't give you. I mean, again, you're probably not making a deal where you're giving up a first or a second round pick. You're just trying to get a better body in there. So I don't know what it would cost, but to go back to the original point. This is not a good area for the Eagles, and one of the biggest concerns that they have right now because of this group is just playing teams that have a lot of speed that can attack you from not just the perimeter, but also from the interior, because, safeties have to cover in certain situations, man on man, sometimes even when zone. We talk about it all the time. When you used to play the cover 3 against Doug Peterson, he would run those 4 verts at you, and your safety would be, your free safety would have to pick one hash or the other that he's going to cover. And you can look them off. So the Eagles just don't have a lot of guys that can run other than Marcus Epps at the position.
Just Epps.
Harris doesn't run well. He's really. Just Epps is who they have.
Yeah.
Anthony Harris has not been impressive this camp. And Jaquiski Tart, you just said it. Anthony Harris has not been impressive. Jaquiski Tart is not ready. Kevon Wallace was recently running with, I think, the second or third. The rookie free agent from Middle Tennessee State, Reid Blankenship, was getting better reps than Kevon Wallace. So that tells you all you need to know about the depth of that position. It's not good right now. And
it's bad.
Marcus Epps gets hurt, it's even worse.
Again, depth has zero to do with how many players you have a position. It's all about how many players you feel good about. You could have 4 guys and they're all good. You're great. You don't need anybody else.
Right.
Reid Blankenship, here's what we're told. Smart guy, coaches like him because he doesn't make a lot of mistakes, not an athlete. If he could blow it up in the preseason, he will definitely be a practice squad candidate. Highly unlikely to make the team. You never say never. It's the bucket we'll put him in. If he blows it up and he gives the coaches something to think about in the front office. But yeah, it's but let's not forget they made a monster offer to Marcus Williams. They matched Baltimore's offer. He chose the Ravens. So it's an acknowledgement that they know they're not good enough, not even close to good enough. But if you would have had Marcus Williams to go with Marcus Epps, now you're cooking with oil. You've upgraded. Boy, Epps is a good, steady player. Final year of his rookie deal. Been a nice story of development. Good athlete. He's built his body up. I think what I've heard on Epps is it's kind of like they just want to see him do it full time.
Yep.
Okay, you've now shown you could practice at a good level. They like the player. Let's see what happens now. You're a full-time starter. You're not getting rotated. This is your run here. Let's see what you do.
Well, just think about that. We've anointed Marcus Epps, and not just we. I mean, we've heard the same stuff, that he's the best safety on the team, certainly the best coverage safety, and the guy hasn't even had a full year a starter yet. So that just kind of paints the picture of what it looks like for the safety position for the Eagles altogether. So I would say, always be on the lookout to see if Howie's got some move in his mind at that position before the start of the season. Let's get into this preseason game coming up. First, of course, we want to tell you about our friends, as we've been telling you, at Freestone Farms CBD. If you go to freestonefarmscbd.com, you can get 20% off if you use the promo code ITB at checkout. That's right, 20% off some supremely good CBD at freestonefarmscbd.com, just using the promo code ITB at checkout. All right, so you heard Nick Sirianni, Adam, say that the starters would play a series or two. He kind of was talking off the cuff there for the first preseason game. And I think, that surprised some people, including myself, because it seems the trajectory that they've been going with all the body preservation that he wouldn't play the starters. But if you go and look at the starting offense and defense, you'll notice that playing they're already without several starters to begin with, right? So I'm not sure if Mailata is going to start at left tackle just a few days after coming back from a concussion. We know Jason Kelce is not starting at center. We know that Devontae Smith is very unlikely to be playing because he's been out for a while with a groin. We know that the Gainwell is not going to play. He's been out with an injury. Miles Sanders will probably see a few snaps and sit immediately. Just last year, if you remember in the preseason opener, he didn't even play.
Crazy.
So yeah, we talked about Anthony Harris has got an injury, so he may not start. So when he says the starters are playing, already like 40 to 45% of them are hurt, and I'm probably not even going to dress for the game.
Yeah, the way remember now, every team has lost a preseason game except for the teams that played in the Hall of Fame game. Well, actually, they still lost one.
Right.
They have 4 instead of 5. But what's happened now is teams don't, like in the first preseason game when you had 4, most teams won't play their starters. Well, they don't look at it that way anymore. They're going to play, like Kyle Shanahan was saying the same thing as a couple other teams said. Shanahan said he's going to play starters in the first game and the third game. He's acting like the third game is like the old third game when you have 4 games. Mm-hmm. That's the dress rehearsal game is the third week. It's just, that's it. Now, last year against the Steelers, Hurts started. Jordan Howard started running back. Ertz played with Goddard, Lane Johnson, Brooks, Kelce, Mailata Suapeta started. And this tells you how long ago this was. Travis Fulgham actually started at what?
Oh my God.
I know. And Watkins. And then their defense, I totally forgot he was actually starting early on. Eric Wilson, the immortal Eric Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
He started. So they went with their starters. Anyone was healthy. Mm-hmm. Pretty much started. A couple of Epps actually did start last. He was starting then for that week, but so I would expect a similar plan. I trust what Sirianni says. Now I'll give him this. He made it clear it's subject to change. He could change his mind, for whatever reason. But what I found interesting is Robert Saleh said the same thing. In fact, he said 1 to 2 series. And if he sees what he needs to see after the first series, you can pull everybody.
Right.
And same should be for Nick Sirianni. And the good thing is, because the Jets offensive personnel is way better than it had been, he's going to see Corey Davis is healthy. You're going to see Elijah Moore as a breakout player. Garrett Wilson, a first-round pick at receiver.
Yeah.
2 new tight ends. Breece Hall. I mean, they've got a lot of talent, and that's good. This is a good group for the Eagles to go up against.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with what we just talked about, the team being concerned about opponents that will have speed and a big arm quarterback. We know Zach Wilson, he's a little erratic, but he's got a big arm. And of course, as you just said, Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson. And they have another guy who is like sneaky fast in their back. Oh no, I thought they had another
Braxton
guy.
Berrios is a nice
maybe it was Braxton Berrios. I know Denzel Mims has not
at all
really established himself with that team, and
it's gone downhill since he did our show.
No, when he ripped Philly, that was it for him, man.
Oh my goodness gracious! For those of you folks who are new to our show, we've done a series of pre-draft interviews with players, and we had Denzel Mims 2 years ago. And I don't remember, maybe it was you asked, did you ask the question about Philly when he visited?
I did ask him if he had ever been to Philly. Yeah. And he said yes, because, Matt Rule was coaching Baylor at the time. He's from Baylor, and I guess Matt had brought the team to Philly for something.
Yeah, and he said he was scared. What was he scared of, though?
He said it was like unpleasant. He didn't like how the city looked. I mean, he stopped short of basically dissing the city.
Yeah, that's right. So to finish this off with the Jets, you're going to see old friend Nate Herbig in the game. They lost Mekhi Becton for the season with a
Tough loss, man. Tough
calf
loss.
fracture.
Yeah.
That sucks. So there'll be an advantage there. George Fan will start at 1. At left, Adoga, who's their swing tackle, he'll play right. That's an advantage for the Eagles, clearly. Now, I know that they're going to be vanilla, but the first series, we'll see, just get some good energy going. We'll give you in a couple minutes here the guys that we're going to keep our eye on. It's an interesting list, but I just want to see the energy that they have and what the coaches have in store. And for both teams, you really want to have a good series because you don't want to risk anything. Remember Andy Reid telling me his job was to get the players to the regular season. Maybe you remember, it was either a series or one play. He put McNabb in and then pulled him out.
Yeah.
It was
very funny. It was like,
and I'm like, why did he do? Wow, if you're gonna play him a damn series. Why would you do that?
I think what it was a series that was the 3 and out. There were 2 runs, 1 pass that was incomplete.
Oh, that was it. Okay.
That was it. So he wanted
to
complete 1 pass.
Oh, he completed it right. So they took.
No. I'm sorry. He might attempted 1 pass, and then it was incomplete. And that was it.
And he said he wanted Donald to get the feel of being on the grass in the game. I'm like, come on, like mentally, like that's gonna. I don't know. I mean,
I don't think you'll see a lot of Jalen Hurts though. I think it'll be a similar approach.
Oh, no. Let's certainly we want to talk about that as we preview the game in a minute. But that's the question now with the 2 tackles out, actually 3. Well, we don't know yet. See, we know this. Even if Mailata or Dillard, and they both cleared, we told you Monday morning that we had heard they were both doing well and very close to being cleared, and they've been cleared. They actually worked this week. So they worked some this week. They didn't do everything. So if one plays, that guy will leave the game after the starters leave. So then you got, it's a tough deal, man. Oshika is that he's the other tackle, and he's a shorter guy.
Yep.
And the Jared Williams guys, that's all they have. So it's not easy to get through this game.
Which is another reason you don't want your quarterback out there when you got left tackle issues. So I don't, if he gets the ball and they have a nice 7-8 play drive and it's a field goal or a touchdown, or if even it ends at the opposing 31 or something like that, I think that's it. That's it for him. The only time I can really see him going out again is maybe they only do a 3 and out and they just want to get him a little bit more run the next time around. But again, I don't think you're going to see a whole lot of him. I think you will see a whole lot of running the ball. I imagine that because it's not something they've been able to do a whole lot of in preseason up till now in camp. I mean, the pads just came out about a week ago, so you don't get to really practice the run in camp as much as you ordinarily do. So I imagine you will get it now, but then things change. When you do the joint practices, you do have the pads on and you do a lot of running.
Oh yeah,
you tend to see your offense open it up in the last 2 preseason games
because you're working goal line, red zone, 2-minute, 4-minute. You're looking for scenarios. Now this game, Huntley, who's a super long shot to make it. I know he's done some good things because he's super quick. He's just the only chance he has if he kicks ass on kickoff returns. That's where he's going to get a chance. Talking to Lions about it, I remember his ball security wasn't great. He wasn't comfortable with the kickoffs.
Right.
But look, time has changed now. Is this his 3rd year with the Eagles? I guess.
Yeah, it's his 3rd year. How about that? Crazy, right?
Wow. Yeah. Boy, man, it's time. He definitely, but from an analytical data standpoint, he had a lot of metrics, we were told. And that's why they claimed him. And we'll have to see, but we sort of can get into some of the players we want to keep an eye on.
Yeah. Before we do that, let's pause and tell our friends about PHLSportsNation.com. They're enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all Philadelphia sports teams for the fan, by the fan. That's their motto. Make sure you check them out at PHLSportsNation.com and on Twitter at PHLSportsNation. And let's hear another word from our other great sponsors, including our friends at Sky Motor Cars. And if you happen to go out to Sky Motor Cars in Westchester, PA, make sure you tell them Adam and Geoff sent you. You will get the very best deal. All right, let's go through some players that we should have our eyes on in the preseason game. We've talked a lot about Reid Sinnett and how impressive that he's been. The coaches are really impressed. His leadership, his work ethic, his mastery of the offense here in year 2. And Adam, you have to mention he's going to get a decent amount of snaps Friday night. I mean, Jalen will get in and do his thing, and then Gardner Minshew will probably take over. That's the question. Does Gardner Minshew just play out the rest of the first quarter and then they just go straight to Reid Sinnett, or do you think they give Minshew the whole second quarter and not play Reid until the third?
It
I'm
doesn't really
curious
matter.
about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I just want to see how much they're going to let Reid, control the offense and do some stuff.
No, but in terms of who comes in first, that doesn't really matter. What matters is, as you just said, give them decent amount of players to play with. Don't have, because by the way, he took some snaps with the second team this training camp over Minshew. Not a lot, just a little, couple here or there. But the key for him is when he comes in, whether it's the second quarter, third quarter, Carson Strong should finish the game, maybe the fourth quarter. Pull Trent Edwards. If you remember when Trent Edwards went off in like these fourth quarters, people wanted him to make. They were like crushed to make the team. Come on.
Yep.
Nice guy, but Reid Sinnett has got some pop in his arm, and I want to see. I want to see him get protected and show off that arm that we saw in training camp. And everyone who's been in training camp knows this. He's been very impressive. He's kind of come out of nowhere. They didn't know a lot about him. And he's got a chance. And look, his arm, if you compare him to Minshew, it's night and day. He just doesn't throw with the anticipation that Minshew throws with, which is tremendous. And Minshew's had an up and down camp, no doubt, but he's a kid that I want to see here. He's been, nice story, nice find for them. And he's on his third teamer. We'll see. And then after that, it's Britton Covey, who Sirianni's new champion. I mean,
the NFL is going to find out about Britton Covey.
How about that one?
Sirianni. Was a hell of a quote, huh?
We'll see. I'm thinking, okay, you're basically making clear he's not getting cut. Okay, which is kind of what we said in May in OTAs. Based on what we had heard, he looked great. They want to see him in training camp. As long as he looks good, he's going to make the team. I would put the money on he'll be the punt returner. He's got tremendous short area quickness. See, what you were looking for once they got the practices ratcheted up, particularly in pads, you wanted to see, is it real? Because you and I know this, and our fans know this, listeners know this. They're off-season champions, but when the lights come on, they don't show up.
Right.
They drop the ball. They whatever the reason they don't. They're OTA champions when you're in shorts and t-shirts and jerseys, and you're not getting touched. Now you're getting touched. So it's he's been a great story. This is a guy they did a ton of work on. They were on him, apparently, we're told, last fall. So this is a guy that they knew very well, and we'll see what he looks like. I'm really interested to see him. Really, him and Sinnett. Not so much Carson Strong, only because he just does not look good. He doesn't look right, as you pointed out.
Here's the thing. This is what I've been trying to figure out. How does Reid Sinnett make this team in any capacity?
Oh.
Are they going to keep three quarterbacks on the 53?
It's just not their history.
No, they're not. They're going to keep two quarterbacks on their 53. Are they going to keep two quarterbacks on the practice squad? I think they did that briefly, right? Didn't they do that? Did they do it last year a little bit with Reid when they added Reid Sinnett and they had? Did they have a quarterback on the practice squad who I can't think of right now? Because you don't normally have four.
Sinnett,
you got one guy to run the scout team.
Well, actually, Sinnett was never on the practice squad. He was claimed from Miami.
Oh, that's right. He was claimed. Yeah. So I guess they had three quarterbacks on the 53 last year.
Right, but I'm saying to start the season, you know what I mean?
Right. They didn't start, but they eventually had 53 when they claimed Sinnett.
Yeah, sure. So well, see, here's the problem. We know they're going to keep 9 or 10 offensive linemen, right?
Maybe.
This is the first year, and I don't know how long you could legitimately say 58 to 60 players deserve to be on the roster as of now. Obviously, things could change once they play the games starting tomorrow. Well, that's the struggle you have for those of you who are doing your own 53.
Right.
You asked a great question, because I would have laughed at you to start training camp, because I'd mentioned that I thought he looked impressive in OTAs, a little we saw of him, but let's see when it really matters. And he has not stopped. He's been a great story. Now I'm like, okay, wow, he's definitely a practice squad guy if he clears waivers. The question is, you just point out, and it's true, Do you consider keeping him? Because remember, Minshew, this is last year, Minshew's deal.
Mm-hmm. But
And
what,
Strong,
like, even from like, what do you do with him? All the reps in practice go to your first stringer, and then a smattering go to your number 2, which is Minshew. And then the whole scout team is usually a quarterback. And then I would imagine if you're getting Carson Wentz Carson Strong on your practice squad because you really think he needs a year of development because he's not better than Reid Sinnett, but he's got the arm and you think you can develop him. What does Reid Sinnett do in practice?
what do you mean?
Two different guys running you can only have you normally traditionally have one quarterback run your look team. Okay.
Yeah.
Your third stringer.
Yeah.
So if you have Carson Strong, if you're trying to develop Carson Strong for the year and he's running your look team,
I see what you mean.
What does Reid Sinnett do from Monday to Saturday? Sit there with his thumb up his rear end? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, because
that's why teams don't usually have 4 quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, it's rare for teams to keep, because we always look at this, adding the practice squad into it when you look at quarterbacks. What do you have on your 53 in practice squad? A quarterback, typically you have 3, not 4.
Right. This
is a tough deal here. This is because Sinnett has played himself into the conversation of actually making the team. I still think it's a little shaky because Minshew's got experience. He's just the guy. They would have to, because I know he's got a good arm and he's a big kid, and I think you noted that he's been really good at meetings and all this.
Yes,
which is important. Like,
yep,
yeah, it's very important. If you're good if you're good, coaches love it when you're competitive in the meeting room. There's a way that coaches will talk about, like, you have the right answer. You have this. Everyone around you knows how smart you are, and it brings a little bit of competition in the room. It's kind of subtle, but it happens. Strong clearly is not making this team. I mean, it would be a shock based on what has happened in OTAs and training camp. He's terrible for the most part. A good throw here or there, but overall really not good. He's like, you go, wow, what's happened to this guy?
Right.
So let's just assume for now he's not going to make it. So that's the question will be, there's nothing wrong with walking away for $300,000. There's just not. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, especially if somebody else gave you a reason to do it. If you just said, "Hey, I'm waiving this guy, and we're going forward Reid Sinnett because we really believe he's better, and we don't have to spend a year just quote unquote developing. We just did that, and he's ready to take another step. And run our scout team.
Yeah,
all right, then you eat the $300,000. That's
by the way,
our money.
Yeah, exactly. And Minshew, he could also do it, the look team, when it's needed, because what Minshew can do, and he's done it, when you're going against like Russell Wilson, someone who could scramble, make
sure, the shifty guys, yeah,
right. So that's a great discussion.
Yeah,
I'm always anxious to see guys who sort of come out of nowhere, and is it real? And we're going to find out starting tomorrow night. And you'll be there, man. Because the great thing about our press box here in Philly is we're right, generally between the 30 and the 50.
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
And the view's great. And
fantastic.
Yeah, you probably have better eyes than I do. Sometimes I would bring my binoculars.
I still do that anyway.
Yeah. Okay. It's funny because the announcers always have the windows open. They don't care how hot it is because they love to hear the crowd.
Right.
You can't open the windows there, but it's a pretty clear glass. So
yeah,
although it might be steamy.
No, I definitely bring the binoculars for preseason games because they run so many guys with numbers that I'm not accustomed to in and out, and I want to make sure I know who I'm seeing.
He's 13.
Yeah.
He's 13.
So to finish off some of the offensive guys, obviously Jalen Reagor is going to get a lot of run with Devontae Smith out and Zach Pascal. I don't know how many snaps he's going to see because he had, a very slow progression.
He's looked good. Yeah, I heard he's back. He finally got all his energy back, and he looks normal. But you're right. Reagor, in fact, someone asked me this, and I'll address it. I mean, it could be a showcase game.
Absolutely.
Getting good tape together. Any team that would call the Eagles, they obviously they all get access to game tape. They all share it. They all see it.
Yep.
I mean, it's not. They don't share their own tape, but everyone gets the same tape that's in the film bank. So the NFL films. And here's a little nugget for you. So back 2017. When did they make the Darby for Jordan Matthews trade? 2017, right?
Yeah.
So it was if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, did they play Green Bay in the first preseason game? Was it for Green Bay, I think?
Oh, now you're jogging my memory. I thought it was
I'll tell you, it was a
Pittsburgh,
Green
but
Bay
it could be
game.
Green Bay. Yeah.
Right, was it week 1 or 2? I'm told that whenever they traded Matthews, because remember he had an injury, it was either an ankle or a knee. The Bills wanted to see that he was healthy on tape.
Right.
So they played him that game and he showed that he was healthy and they got traded.
That makes sense.
So here, if you're a team that has interest in Reagor, you're going to want to see this tape. And if I'm the Eagles, I play him like at least a quarter, if not a half.
Yep.
And Hightower, either down at receiver with Devontae Smith not playing, Hightower, new injury, Greg Ward, same injury, he's out. Kirk Weedfall, he probably won't play with his injury. So after the starters make their cameos, well, starters will be Brown and Watkins. You're down to Deion Kane's a guy they want to take a look at, especially if they trade Reagor. You don't have a chance to make it. And Devin Allen, we should mention him just as a kickoff returner. Long shot to make it, but Lance Lenore's not making it. Boy, wow, they don't have a lot of receivers for this game now I look at it.
No, and that's also same thing with kick returners. They listed Jalen Reagor on the unofficial depth chart as both the punt and kick returner, which I agree. And they probably should have him do both and really showcase him. He's been very consistent in camp this year. It's his best camp by far. Last year, he made a couple of one-handed, amazing Randy Moss-like grabs, but it wasn't as consistent as he has been this camp. This camp, he's been less of a flash player and just more of a good-looking wide receiver. So and if the team is smart, Adam, from Jalen Reagor's standpoint too, if they don't have him in their plans, and they already know that, and they can get a good enough deal that they'd be happy with, they shouldn't wait at second or third preseason game, because don't let the kid go. Don't keep putting the kid out there and risk his health.
Oh yeah,
in a preseason game when you've got a chance to trade him just because you want to wait until the end. I mean, I think it would be smart to showcase him for a game, maybe a second game, and then that's it.
Well, especially if this tape is really good. I mean, look, and a couple of things with him. Apparently in the off-season program, his ball security was tremendous returning punts. Didn't drop one, we were told, and he's healthy. I liked his interview. What was it on Wednesday? Really, I was able to listen to that one. That was he's pretty serious, man. He's he's like he's controlling controllables. He has no control of not getting the reps. When everybody's healthy, but with Smith out, Greg Ward out, and now Hightower with an injury, he's going to get a decent run here, and let's see what he does.
Yeah, I always like a good comeback story. I thought Nelson Aguilar was a great comeback story in 17. But the thing about that was different was when they moved him to the slot, they did it with intent, and they said, you're going to be our guy in the slot, and it started in OTAs. But it this time around, it feels more that the team has already armed itself with players, and we're talking about Britton Covey even now kind of entering the fray here as a fifth, and that they've moved beyond. So it seems like his comeback story would have to happen somewhere else unless there's some injuries that happen or something changes with the coaching staff and they feel like they've seen enough that they want him to be there. I mean, again, I don't know how you do that when you're talking up Quez and you're talking up Zach Pascal and now Britton Covey, but so it seems like a long shot. It'll probably be somewhere else, but we're still a little bit away from that.
For sure. No, I agree. It could happen. Honestly, we're not saying he's going to be traded, but it would make a ton of sense for both parties to move on.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll get a third. We said for months that seems to be a reasonable offer. The guy's a first round pick. We could say all we want how disappointing he's been. He certainly has been. And as you correctly said, and it's probably the best point of all of this, is the Eagles have clearly moved on in their eyes. How do we know that? AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins, they already anointed as the three. It's Zach Pascal. I love how you call him the teacher's pet. That makes me laugh. People love that, by the way.
Coach's pet.
But I mean, same thing. Coach's pet. Yeah, they love that. And Deion Kane, another one. So there's just not any room.
Another guy, another former Colt.
Yeah, there's just no room for him here. But they're not going to cut him, as we said back in May. No matter what, that won't happen.
Mhm.
But whatever the case may be, we wish everybody luck with this. And it's a good thing to be deep. I mean, this is the thing. I with talking with the Bucks, a couple of guys in the front office, we're just talking about how tough it is to be deep in the salary cap world, and they're really deep, especially on defense. Their defense might be better than it was when they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They're just really deep. The Eagles are really deep in a lot of important positions other than safety. But that's a good thing. And the nice thing is, it's kind of cool. It's a good problem to have tough decisions for. It's been a while since you and I started the show in 2018, where you go, wow, they might not be able to keep this guy.
Right.
I don't know what they're going to do. Kind of
right.
thing like that.
Right. He's a good player, and they're going to struggle to get him on the 53. Right.
Yeah, especially with the preseason here. If these guys, if the bottom of the end roster guys who they like, like Marlon Tuipuloto, who we'll get to defense in a minute, if he shows out if he plays well in 2 or 3 games and he puts it on tape, you can't cut the guy. If you really like the guy, don't take the chance.
No, yeah, we'll get to defense. We'll just finish it off. Obviously, they'll get to see. We talked about all the injuries at tight end, so Noah Togiai is going to get a lot of snaps, you would imagine, and he'll get some good time.
He's had a good camp.
I
just want to jump in there. He's had a really good camp. Yes, he's a wide tight end, but he's catching everything. This is where it gets tough. They knew they made a mistake 2 years ago cutting him, and they got lucky to get him back. He was an undrafted free agent in 2020. The Colts claimed shockingly off waivers. We still think that Chris Ballard, the GM of the Colts, read the transcripts coming out of Philly or something. It's like, how the hell do they know about him? Come on.
Exactly.
Although I guess he did address it. He said that the area guy knew about him. Okay, well, he has
whatever. There was a mole. I'm telling you, Frank Reich had a mole in the Eagles office.
Who knows? But yeah. So this is where, because right now at tight end, it's Goddard and Stoll or locks. Obviously, Stoll's has been, as we told you 3 months ago, he will be the 2 no matter what people are saying. There was never competition for the 2. He's the 2. The coaches love this guy. He's a little bit better athlete than you think. In fact, he was known initially at Nebraska as being an athlete,
right,
and became a much better blocker. He's sort of like the trajectory at Nebraska that Brent Selleck had here as an Eagle, in terms of came in as a pass catcher, couldn't block anybody, and then he became a good blocker. They called it a positional blocker, angle blocker. And Stoll's a really good blocker, and he hasn't really done much catching it. And yes, there's a major drop off after Goddard. I get that. And that's why they're hoping Calcaterra would have made the team now. And there's an opportunity here for Rich Rodgers, and I think a Whiteside will get a run there, but he's not going to make the team.
No, definitely not. And then, of course, Jack Stoll's roommate at Nebraska, or friend from Nebraska, Cam Jurgens, will get a lot of run on the first team. So we'll get a good look at Cam Jurgens, and good on Jordan Davis, by the way, for I don't know if you saw that rep that went viral.
Awesome.
Yeah. And because I felt weird because we had talked about
let everyone know what he said.
So first, what happened was there was a clip went viral of Jordan Davis basically putting Jurgens into a bunny hop position in one-on-ones at the Linc practice. I mean, Cam just lost his leverage, and Jordan just bulldozed him back, and you literally see Jurgens with both feet hopping, and generating no point. He's going backwards the whole time, and it looked embarrassing if you're trying to be a blocker. And Jordan Davis said in the press conference, on I think it was Wednesday, he said that's just one snap. It doesn't mean anything. And he said he felt bad about it because Cam had been doing a good job in most other snaps against him on one-on-ones. And that's something that we had seen in the practices we've been to, specifically talking about one-on-ones with him versus Jordan Davis, how I had mentioned he had a plan. You could tell his feet and his punch were synonymous. He knew what he wanted to do to try to block a guy that big, and was doing, holding his own. So that painted a different picture, and good on Jordan Davis to say that's just one snap. Everybody's overreacting to it. Yeah,
I thought it was wonderful. The way he's described it, that he did that's being a teammate. That was awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, I doubt that anyone told him to say it. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
So he's a fun guy, man. He, as going to practice, he does these things where you go, holy bleep. He reminds you a little bit of Quinnen Williams, the first rounder for the former first round of the Jets from like 4 years ago, Alabama.
Sort of freak of nature of athleticism.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But he's even more freakish, this kid, Jordan Davis.
Yeah. He's huge. He's twice his size.
Yeah, I mean, he is. I mean, he's what you do is, folks, is you see what the Eagles were thinking when they gave up so much compensation to go and get him. He's going to be yet. See, the thing is, because their last 2 drafts on paper look really, really good, they've got some building blocks here on both sides of the football. The first 3 years, you and I did the show. Okay, the 18 draft was really good, but they only had 5 picks. 19 and 20 looked bad, and they've bounced back on paper. We got 21 in the books. That looks really good. 22, we'll see, but the early returns look good. We're going to get a look in training camp. I mean, the rest of training camp in the preseason. But the nice thing we could say about those 2 drafts is no reaches, not getting. I mean, we got so much criticism from teams around the league on Arcega-Whiteside. Not as much on Dillard. There are more people like Dillard than not, but he clearly, obviously, has not lived up to what they thought. But man, just the comments we've gotten from other teams on the Eagles 2 drafts, last 2, 21, 22, and the building blocks that they now have for the future with Mailata, Dickerson, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Goddard, defensively with Sweat signed long-term. Milton Williams has been a really nice development as a player. TJ Edwards is certainly going to be in the mix for a while. Nakobe Dean's going to be a player. Reddick is here. And we're going to I want to talk about what he said to the media this week. Great quotes. Epps, we'll see. Maddox, one of the best young slot corners in the league. So they're building blocks here. It only happens when you draft well, and then you start building around those guys.
No doubt about it. All right, let's talk about some of those defensive guys you mentioned. First, I want to remind everybody to check us out on the app that everyone's been talking about. It's the Versus Game app, where we ask a question every week, and all you have to do is be able to answer it, testing your NFL knowledge, usually your Eagles knowledge. We usually ask an Eagles question, and you can win. I mean, you can play it for free if you want, just to test your knowledge, or you can win by betting from $1 up to $100. And it's really easy. It's not even it's a yes, no question or an either or question. It's either A, it's either B, it's either yes, it's either no. And if you're smart enough, you're going to get it and have a chance to win. The game pits you against another opponent. So it's a really fun game. People are playing. People are loving our questions. We get to be a little interactive with it. So find us at Inside the Birds on Versus Game app. It's all one word, Versus Game. Just download the app and find us at Inside the Birds to answer our next question so you too can win. Speaking of win, some guys who want to win in the trenches. You mentioned Marlon Tuipuloto. Adam, I imagine Jordan Davis will probably play. He'll be among those people who'll probably play, because you got to get a look on how he does. But he's probably not going to play much. And Tuipuloto is going to be a good person to look at, because you're probably going to see him play the nose or like head up on the center like Jordan Davis would. And then you probably see him move around like you'll also see Jordan Davis.
Well, yeah, no shade. They shade their nose. They've done on the ball, and they've shaded them. I noticed that in training camp. But yeah, this is big. The Tuipuloto. It's funny when Gannon said he barely played last year. He said he looked great, excellent, whatever the words he used. I'm like, he barely played and wasn't really good enough shape. These coaches say stuff, and look, they have better information than we do, but it's not really what we had heard. So I don't know.
Well, I mean, the next time Gannon says something mildly critical of anything, will be the first. So,
but just
I know.
But here's
I get you. You don't have to then spoon feed lies. You can figure your way around a question without just
whatever his version of the truth is. I'll trust his judgment, but it's not what we not what we heard now. But with Tuipuloto, he's had a very good camp. He's now what we call in the conversation to make the team.
Yep.
Marvin Wilson won't make the team most likely, but he's definitely shown some things.
Yeah.
So let's see what happens here with Tuipuloto over these 3 games. And he came to camp really good shape, much better than last year. Because remember, he had the hamstring problem. Can't wait to see Jordan Davis. Nakobe Dean, his first time here. See, here's the thing with Nakobe Dean, because he's an outstanding blitzer. We know that TJ Edwards, unless he falls off, and he's not, maybe whether he's motivated by the drafting of Dean, no one can answer. but he's had a phenomenal camp, TJ Edwards.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's just about Dean getting more comfortable with the defense and how will they use him. This is interesting with him because no one was expecting Edwards to take this game to another level in coverage.
Right.
That's most logical people would say it was going to be White and Dean as your nickel linebackers. It's going to be a nickel team anyway. Not so fast, folks. We're going to be wrong about this if this keeps coming on with TJ Edwards.
Yeah, I'll be the first to admit. I did not think he would be. No. And listen, the changing of the guard or linebacker might happen sometime during the season, and maybe it's because who knows, and we have to see how everybody plays. But I agree that TJ Edwards has made it extremely difficult to get for somebody to take his job. Like we were told, it's not just that he's having the best camp of his career; he's having one of the best camps of anybody on the team.
Yes.
So, and it's not a flash in the pan either. I mean, he's improved ever since he got into the starting lineup last year. We talked about his play speed being better than his athletic testing speed, and he's smart, knows where to be. I'm kind of, listen, man, I like it. It's a great story. It's a really good story of development at a position where the Eagles haven't had a lot of those great stories of development. So I'm excited for the guy. I think he's a good person to talk to, works his ass off. He'll be among the starters, so he may not have to play all that much. I think him and your White will be in and out, and then you'll get to see Nakobe Dean
and Davion Taylor. Yeah, as you said, this is such a great point you made the last show about the reason why he's playing faster is because he's trusting his eyes. He's anticipating the ball in coverage, and he's closing because he understands the coverage better. And it makes you look. He's not that he's athletic, but when you diagnose and you close better, makes you look faster than you are. Consequently, we use the Ronald Darby thing where he's super fast in a straight line, but he had slower eyes. We make him look slower to the ball, and you go, "Wow, maybe he's not that fast." That's really not the point. It's more he's not reading it correctly, and it makes him look slower than he really is. And the verse here is Edwards, where he's not fast, but he plays faster because he knows what he's doing. And I just want to talk about what Reddick said. He was interviewed by the Philly media, and Ruben Frank wrote about it for, I call it CSNphilly.com, NBCsports.com, Philly.com, whatever it's called. It's too long. I call it CSN, but
I just call it my old stomping grounds.
Right, your old stomping grounds, right? And he had great quotes. I mean, basically, this part is music to your ears. I'm just going to paraphrase. He basically said that this is the best coaches have done with him in his career, but using him correctly. I mean, the people were getting scared that he's going to be in coverage. He explained why. I guess they always explain, and he bought Gannon's reason or the coach's reasons, but why he has to be in coverage at least a little bit. But if you read the quotes, it's very clear he's here to rush the passer, which we all knew, but you need to hear it or see it.
Right.
I'd be shocked based on what Reddick said if he's not rushing at least 80% of the time or 75% of the time. So that was good to hear, because I know people are not sold on Gannon. I get it. It's very fair based on what happened last year, but there are no more excuses. The front office did a phenomenal job. They've got a good staff. They just got to develop these guys, and I know the staff is big on development here.
Yep.
And Reddick is only going to get a cameo anyway, but we'll see what he does.
Speaking of development, as we finish this off, it'll be good to see what they do at defensive back. I imagine, you'll get Slay, Bradbury, and Maddox. They'll start. They'll come out. And then we're curious to see our guy, Josiah Scott, who we reported last podcast, has really turned heads and would be the fifth corner if it all ended today. I would imagine maybe him and Zach McPherson are your, maybe outside corners if it's base. And then when they go to nickel, maybe they move Josiah Scott in and bring like Josh Jobe in as the other outside guy. Maybe if Jonathan Gannon doesn't mind playing a little bit of his hand, he may move Josiah Scott around a little bit at safety. Because I don't know what they're going to do anyway. Because, all right, let's say Anthony Harris doesn't play. All right, because he's not been practicing because it's a tooth. I don't know. Let's say even if he plays, he's not going to be out there long. So him and Epps, they're out. So without Jaquiski Tart, right, and with is there another safety that was hurt? Was it? I guess the second team safeties would be Andre Sachere and who instead
Wallace.
of Hart? Oh, Kavon Wallace. Maybe Blankenship though. The way we saw practice.
No, Blankenship's definitely over Jared Maiden.
Yeah.
So yeah, they just don't have a lot of safety. In fact, right now, if Harris does not play, they're down to just 4 safeties after the starters come out.
Yeah. So they're gonna
That's
have to
enough.
mix and match a little bit.
What's that?
Yeah, they'll have to mix and match a little bit, I would think.
Yeah, and then Josiah Scott, all you needed him to do is play. He's plays free,
right?
If you need him to, and plus it would be a good thing to see because he's got coverage skills. And apparently, the 2 things that they all like is he's really smart, and he's super coachable. And I could see Dave Caldwell, who drafted him. You kind of get the idea of why now that this is happening, that he's had one of the most impressive camps of any of the young guys. You're now seeing why this guy was a 4th round pick. He's not the biggest guy in the world. He's 5'9"ish, but he being coachable and doing
Scrappy
whatever.
Too.
What's that?
Scrappy.
He's a
fighter.
Yeah, and being coachable and doing whatever the coaches want you to do. That's really important because they're going to do a lot more stuff pre-snap. From what we understand, they definitely have done more in training camp. Why? Because you trust Epps now as the full-time starter. You got Maddox, who's playing great. Now you got a legit number 2 corner in Bradbury, which they've not had, and I don't know how long.
Right.
So, yeah, look, they're going to do some things. They're not going to do it in this game because you don't show any of your coverages. But this is going to be an interesting team if everybody stays healthy. Folks, I have a feeling you're going to be proud of this defense where you're not going to throw anything at the television anymore. Gannon, people wanted to crush Gannon last year, and I get it, but boy, this team is really talented, and I look forward. When you and I are at the Dolphins in 2 weeks, because the Browns don't have much at receiver, but boy, the Dolphins do, and they could go 12, they could go 11. They're deep at 10 end wide receiver. I look forward to seeing how those corners match up against the Dolphins receivers.
Definitely. All right, to close this thing out, we always say preseason games, you don't make much of it. You don't look at too much and try to make long-term conclusions. However, last year, preseason opener, my spidey sense was up on something. I had already had questions going into the year on how they were going to play the original design defense of having, either quarters or 2 safeties out of the box and be able to stop the run with personnel that was not really built to be stout up the middle. And last year, after the first game, if you remember, they played the Steelers. The Steelers had 80 total plays, 80 in the first game compared to the Eagles 42. And Adam, the Steelers had 42 rushing plays. That means they ran the ball as many times as the Eagles had total plays in the game. And if you recall, just to show that it wasn't one of those crazy anomalies of the preseason, the very next week when they played the Patriots did the same thing and just completely steamrolled them in the run game. So I'm curious to see if some kind of trend, whether positive or negative or whatever, pops up that you and I are like, this is something to watch for the second preseason game and then going forward, because there are some little tells in the preseason.
Well, it didn't hurt them against Atlanta. Did it hurt them against the Niners?
It didn't hurt them against Atlanta because they were able to. They were really tight in the red zone, if you remember. I mean, Cordarrelle Patterson and Mike Davis, right?
Yeah, he had Cordero had a couple of those cutbacks.
Yeah, but then the Eagles scored some points.
Yeah,
I think they got a turnover, and once they started to get ahead, then the Falcons had to pass the ball. But if you go look at the first half, they ran the ball really well. They were bad in the red zone, though. That was big. They couldn't convert when they got the ball down into the red zone, and that was the game.
This is the second year in this defense. The techniques should be better. Milt Williams, Jordan Davis' backups. There's no reason why they can't be better. Everett is a good run guy. Tuipuloto, Cosell told us last year he had a little bit of pass rush in him, as you said, collapse the pocket.
Right.
At the very least, push it. So I expect them to be better against the run. So it's going to be a fun team. I'm so interested to see, because last year they just didn't do as much as we thought they were going to do because they didn't have the personnel.
Right.
Ain't any excuses right now, folks. They got the personnel. So we could see an interesting group here on defense.
How many rushing yards do you think the Falcons had against the Eagles in the first half last year?
87.
110.
Did they?
On 19 carries.
Well, I remember
5.8 yards a carry.
Well, it was, if I remember correctly, I'm pretty certain of it. I could not believe the cutback runs for Cordero Patterson.
Oh, the lanes were they were killing them up the middle on those
huge,
cutbacks.
on the cutbacks. Yeah,
yep, and 54 yards on 7 carries for Patterson in the first.
Well, not only do I remember it, for fantasy, because he's never been good at fantasy. Terrible. He's moved on from team to team. He's just been a returner.
Right.
Every team that tried to make him a running back, they failed.
Yep.
And then Arthur Smith, hey, it worked.
Yep. By the way, if you remember, they brought Sean Bradley into the game in the third quarter because Eric Wilson was doing such a terrible job of stopping the run. So Jonathan was throwing every linebacker he could in there trying to stop them at one point.
See, Wilson's problem is he was a coverage linebacker, bad against the run because he's smaller.
Yeah.
And all the Viking fans, once they were killing the Eagle fans, were, oh, you can't believe you guys signed Wilson.
Yeah,
he stinks. He's too small. But, this is where coaches love when their coordinators or head coaches, they want to bring in their own guys. Well, look, it didn't work with Eric Wilson. They didn't. The good thing about that one was they didn't keep him on the roster the whole season.
Right.
Like Anthony Harris, who's very average.
Yeah.
It's too bad the Eagles don't have anyone to push him. Well, they thought Tart would be. Now he's missed too much time now, and plus when he's been available, he doesn't have the defense down yet. So Harris is not getting pushed yet.
Not yet. They just don't have anybody to push him.
Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe Friday night somebody will emerge. We will see. This Reid Blankenship could we'll have to talk about this. Maybe we do a little ITB TV, which we haven't done in a while, Friday night after the game, just to address anything. If you're around, I mean, you're all over.
Yeah, if there's something we feel, if we feel the need that there's something to talk about, but I'm just really interested to see how the backups do, because the roster is so much better.
Yep.
They have good backups for a change. Let's see. In Davion Taylor, we haven't talked about him very much. He's healthy. The yoga apparently has helped him. He's bulked up.
Same.
He's a guy's got some ability. Let's see what he can do.
Gotcha. All right. That's going to do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles Intel. Big thanks to our producer, Tyler Strasser, been doing a great job. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the bird.